Welcome to Okon Bros. This is Eric.
And I'm Michael.
Today we have on Jonathan Palmar. I hope I'm saying that right. Jonathan Palmar, his LinkedIn content is so damn inspirational. And I just want to say, not many people know this about Jonathan, but in his off time, he's Aquaman.
We tried to get Jason Momoa on the show, but we got Jonathan, the next best thing.
It's like you guys are literally getting the Walmart version of Jason Momoa. So I'm so sorry to be like whatever you guys could pick up on the discount rack, but I feel like it says more about you guys than it does about me. So just saying.
We appreciate you coming on, Jonathan.
I'm happy to be here.
I got to tell you, your LinkedIn content is, it's top notch. The quality, the entertainment value.
And the first time I want to be honest,
the
first time I saw your content, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. It was so good, but it kept me coming in. Every pause, every like micro pause that you had in it, it just kept me coming back for more. And I'm like, I have to see what he's going to finish. How long does it take you to make those pieces of content?
Too much time. I used to average about an hour or so per video, but now I'm like upwards of 10 hours per video. So It takes about 10 hours recording, producing, editing, that whole process. But let me explain why. So people think like, well, why do you want to put so much time into a piece of content? And maybe this is something that we can get into through the interview, but in terms of lead generation, I am actually lazy and insecure. Number one, I'm lazy because I don't want to be sending out a bunch of invitations. I don't want to be sending out and, booking appointments to do cold calls. Number two, I'm insecure. I'm not the best at selling. I'm not good at closing. So I thought to myself, instead of investing all the hours into doing that, I would much prefer for people to come to me. Even if that means that I have to do more work on the front end, it's saving me hours and hours of booking and cold calls on the back end.
Mm-hmm. So what is it? What do you do? So I know like you're like a LinkedIn celebrity, yes, but like what does that mean? What are you selling?
All right. So essentially what we do is we do like LinkedIn coaching, right? So it is a 6-week boot camp where we teach executives, business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring influencers how to develop content for the LinkedIn newsfeed to optimize their results. So regardless of what industry you're in, you guys know you need to be on camera. You need to put yourself out there. If you're not on LinkedIn, if you're not on social media, you are essentially irrelevant in the world right now, especially the time we're living in. And there's no better place than LinkedIn to make money, business to business opportunities, as you guys I'm sure know. Yep. So that's kind of why I've planted my feet there.
Do you put the fun into LinkedIn? Because LinkedIn is generally I came out with these top 10 lists and I was putting them on LinkedIn and everything. And it was translating into engagement, but You literally are like a Saturday Night Live sketch on LinkedIn. How did you even know to do this?
I think it's always like recognizing like where's the gap? What's missing, right? And what I noticed is that when it came to LinkedIn, the content wasn't necessarily entertaining. And like you would think, okay, but it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like a business networking platform, right? But at the end of the day, and you guys have to be extremely honest with yourselves, when you pick up your phone and you decide, I'm going to log into LinkedIn and I'm going to go through the newsfeed, why are you really doing it? It's not necessarily because you want to learn the newest factoid about, the accounting business. It's because you're bored. You're taking a minute or two between emails, phone calls, whatever it may be, and you want something, right? So essentially what I decided to do on LinkedIn is I wanted to cure boredom. And I felt like regardless of what people believe about LinkedIn, it is still a social media platform. People are still going there to be entertained. So I thought to myself, that's great. It's almost like, people are running in a marathon. I want to be the one selling the bottles of water. I want to ensure that, while the focus is one way, it's on the race, I'm providing a service on the side that people need. So
that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Is it translating? Are people going on? Are they taking you're with Shay
Rowbottom. Yeah.
Shay Rowbottom. Are people able to break out of that shell? Are people saying like, I can do this? And is it translating to more business for them?
It is because, like, for example, we have one client that she's a lawyer. She's a, and in terms of the type of content that she's always put out, it's very serious. It's very, on the nose, relating to her business. But she's always had this passion to be a mermaid, like a mermaid, like the fins and everything. Like she wants to be a mermaid. That was kind of like her like childhood dream or what have you. And I said, then you need to be a damn mermaid. You need to put yourself out there. So she literally put on her mermaid outfit in fear as a serious lawyer, practicing lawyer. And she did a video talking about that side of her. And it blew up.
Of course.
She linked her YouTube, which she's been wanting to launch for years. Linked her YouTube, and it got over 4,000 views on the first day.
Wow.
So for people that don't think that LinkedIn has, it's too small, there's not a lot of opportunity there, we all know that YouTube is absolutely massive. That link that she put in LinkedIn to YouTube made her YouTube blow up. And people love the fact that she is embracing who she really is, not who society has dictated she needs to be.
Mm-hmm. You got her.
Like that's why we started our show. We started Okon Bros. We realized that we had to, we just for your reference, we run a global car service. We've been decimated by COVID-19, but we're regrouping, we're doing what we have to do. And I would say 14 or 15 months ago, we started our show, and it started out as a platform for us to kind of peel back the veil of who we were, how we're running a family business. And, and once we did 60 episodes of us talking about how we're a family business, we're like, okay, we did that. Like we can talk about it over and over again. You can talk about one topic 100 different ways. Like we get that, but we're like, okay, what are we going to do? And then we started interviewing people. And then now our show is kind of turning into an
like
interview
Joe
show.
Rogan, right?
Yeah,
what
like
Joe Rogan's doing.
like what Joe Rogan is doing. And it's been great on LinkedIn, and not every post hits. They're not my clips are not as entertaining as yours are. And it's you're making my brain go crazy with the mermaid comment, because I'm like I'm trying to think, how can we be more ourselves?
Right.
How can we even lay it out even more?
Right. That's exactly what it is. Like, and not here to give you like a therapy session, but I think it's
we all need it. We all need it. Go right ahead.
It's tapping into some of those vulnerabilities, some of those uncomfortable conversations, those things that, and I'm sure we could speak to it soon, but I'll let you guys introduce the idea. It's just like those things that are the absolute most vulnerable about ourselves also tend to be some of the most relatable. The thing is that so many people, executives, people in higher positions, like they're all still humans. They're still people. And, one of the things that I love about the career that I have right now is I have the ability to do these things, say these things without the fear of ridicule or judgment, or, like my job saying that I can't do it. So you do find that a lot of these executives, these corporate types that you would think, oh, well, like they wouldn't go there. They wouldn't want to do this. It's like, no, like you end up actually like they live vicariously through you, through the fact that you can be so, open, and they support you because there's a part of them that wishes they could do that themselves.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we own a global car service, and it was nerve-wracking to put ourselves out there because we're a very private company, right? Like we can't say who we drive, we can't say who's in the back of the car. There's a lot of privacy stuff, and we wouldn't want ever a client to come and go, look at these two fools, right? Look at these guys. These guys are putting themselves out there, and I got to tell you, it was the complete opposite effect. So much so that we're doubling down. We're going even bigger than before. That we have our wives on a podcast. Eric and I are doing an AMA. We're now going to start doing a happy hour, Friday night happy hour with our clients, because I did a post on my Facebook page. By the way, I just joined Facebook a month ago. Okay.
What?
Where
have you been?
Bro,
you were avoiding it.
I was avoiding it.
Yeah, very, very clearly.
I was avoiding it
because you didn't get it. When you don't get social media, we didn't get it. And then we were on LinkedIn for 2 years.
Yeah,
and then we're like, you know what? Let's go into Facebook. Nobody tells you how good it is. Like it's like one big secret. It's like I never knew. Like we joined a country club 2 years ago, and because we wanted to play golf, we knew people growing up that join country clubs, they never once told us, you got to join it. It's great. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's what I feel
Right.
like Facebook is. Like, everyone's just like, yeah, it's fine. It is what it is. But like, I guess maybe just because
But
whatever we get out of it.
But also, Eric and I started posting what you're doing on LinkedIn. We're not putting ourselves out there like that, and I have tremendous respect for what you're doing. But to make these skits,
so cool.
Yeah.
I want to do it
like
so
Gary
badly.
V. It's like
yes.
No,
Gary
it's not Gary V. It's different. It's like a YouTube channel, but you're doing it on LinkedIn. You're giving away the secret sauce on how to be successful on LinkedIn, and it's so damn cool. Do you have a YouTube channel?
It's really funny, actually. I've never had a YouTube channel. Like, to be honest with you, I started on LinkedIn in January of this year. So it's been a very, like, I had never been on, like, to give some background, I was a WWE professional wrestler, like early, like 18 to 23. Like, that was like my dream job.
What was your like name?
So you could search Y2J 2007. It was Chris Jericho. He's like, I was basically like, I was an extra, but like I was an enhancement talent is what they call it. So basically I was training. I was trying to like get signed to like a full-time contract. They have a developmental crew, which I was a part of. But yeah, so like that was my dream. And then I became a forensic accountant because like dream didn't realize, like, you know, it's like you look at guys like that, and I know that it's an orchestrated sport, you know, so it doesn't always get the respect that it deserves. But the level of athleticism and talent that the top guys have, like, it's just
They're
out of this
superstars.
world. Absolutely.
Yep.
So despite the fact that I could articulate, obviously, and I could entertain, I didn't have like the athletic side to back me up. I didn't come from an athletic background. So, but all of that to say that, you know, when it came time to create video content for LinkedIn, I was like, I've done this stuff before. You know what I mean? So the transition was very, very easy to this platform. But
how did you get hooked up with Shay Rowbottom?
My dad had a forensic accounting firm, and so we wanted to rebrand. Again, it was one of those cases of 20 years in business, had no, like, we were irrelevant. We just didn't exist in the world because we had no digital presence, right? We had a website from like 2005 that's just never been updated. So many businesses are guilty of this, right? And so I saw that she was making videos, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of like fun. But, you know, she really talks about generating leads and, you know, making money for your business. So it's like we're all covert. Whatever the motivation is, it's not really what it is, right? So like, you know, there's an agreement. Shay plays the game and says, oh yeah, you're joining this boot camp because you want leads for your business and you want to make more money. And then through the experience, you both start to recognize, like, no, it's like there was a message in my heart I wanted to share. There was things that I wanted to talk about. There were parts of me that I wanted to bring to the surface. You know, I had things I wanted to say. And that's what you recognize with most of the people that go through this experience. We go in believing it's one thing, and we come out of it, you know, like recognizing the fact that there was actually something much deeper to all of this. So
yeah,
that's
amazing. I mean, you know, like our content journey online. Michael's an author. Our mother is an author. Michael writes screenplays. My mom writes screenplays. And, you know, our father passed away February 2018. Wow. And my mom has always had an intuition about her. And I've, you know, I don't know if you're into this sort of thing at all, but she started taking mediumship lessons. And wow. She basically trained to be a medium for a year, and everybody has that ability. And finally, I'm like, Mom, I'm like, we could make a business out of this, and you could help a lot of people. Because what was happening was she would read somebody that worked for us, and then all of a sudden their uncle would call. And then that person's sister would call, and she wasn't charging anybody. She's like, I can't charge for this. I can't do that. I'm like, but Mom, it's taking time for you to do this.
Right.
So, you know, 24 hours later, whipped up a website, did this whole thing. And then we had her live on one of our AMA shows, Ask Us Anything shows. And it went amazing. And now she's having bookings every single day.
Oh my God, God bless.
That's in addition to her having, you know, running BLS with us. And just for your frame of reference, January 2020, we had 750 employees.
Wow.
Today we have around 150. So obviously,
no way, you doubled it.
No,
That's crazy.
yeah, no. We had 750. Now we have 150.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we got killed. We got killed.
Oh,
So
got it.
we're all about having multiple gigs. Michael's trying to have his books made in Hollywood and stuff like that. But my point is that if you would have told us that my mom would be doing psychic mediums live on air 18 months ago, I would have said you're crazy.
Right.
Like what does this lead to? So now we created her own YouTube channel, and we're going to try and do things like that. But yeah, your story is so similar, and I just wish people would understand that creating brand online, if you're not doing it, you're just going to get lost. You're not going to exist.
People have they struggle with this fear of the judgment, right? Like, and it's so. Oh, like I wish I could talk to every single one of them and tell them it's like, and most of what we do through the coaching services is giving people permission. That's literally how it feels. It literally feels like we're just giving them permission. There's so much negative self-talk. There's so much negative beliefs around, my business reputation. I have to do this, and that. People are going to laugh at me. People are going to make fun of me. It's like the way that people will, a 60-year-old executive, multi-million-dollar revenue per year, will essentially turn back into a 5-year-old and listen to a guy that has been creating social media content for less than a year, yet he wants my perspective on how he should move forward with business. It's
right.
Like there's a lot of imposter syndrome that comes into play where I feel like, dude, I have no right to be saying anything, but just listen, taking the time to listen to their stories and understand like their pain points, some of their experiences, and just telling them, no, look, I did it. You can do it too,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's all that person needs to just start expressing themselves in a way that they've been holding back for 20 years. And it's just the most incredible transformational process.
So what you and Shay are doing, I mean, I never looked at it that way, where you're changing who people are, or you're letting them be themselves.
Right.
That's
right.
That's amazing.
Right. Just giving them permission. Just giving them permission.
I'm still kind of floored that I'm talking to a wrestler from WWE. I've been listening to everything that you've been saying, and I'm fascinated by your story, but I kind of want to rewind just a little bit.
Please do.
How the hell? My son and I, it was a phase for him. Like, we went to WrestleMania in New York last year. How did you get into the WWE? And did you meet Vince McMahon? Who did you meet?
Yes.
Like, I know this is all about social marketing and networking.
No. Get into
that. But like, I have to talk to a wrestler right now because wrestling has been a huge part of my life for my entire life.
Our grandfather used to sit on the couch, pick his nose, and he
Bruno Sammartino.
Yes, but like
Bruno, one of your guys.
Bruno. I mean, it was really the match that did it for me was Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, right? And I know that was just on the documentary.
3.
Yeah. Yes, that was the match.
Bigger than that.
I was at my grandfather's house. We were with my uncles. Eric was a little baby. I was in kindergarten, and I was like, what is I've never seen something this big before. And it was we were stuck. And like, obviously, like when I got into dating and everything, I kind of stopped watching wrestling. I wasn't into the Steve Austin, The Rock era. But all right, so wrestling, how did you get into the WWE? Did you write it down? Did you manifest saying, I'm going to work for WWE? Tell us that entire story.
It's the most incredible story. So when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot. I was like kind of short, chubby, like I had a growth spurt. Now I'm about 6'2", but a short, chubby kid, just like very socially awkward. I remember like walking around the hallways of school during lunch so that nobody could notice that I was like sitting by myself. So
join the club.
I had a lot of
join the club,
right? So I had a lot of those like impactful moments in my life, and I remember like watching one wrestler in specific. His name was Chris Jericho, and like I just remember he wasn't the biggest guy, but he was so confident on the microphone. The way that he articulated, talked, the way that he wrestled, everything. Like I was just floored, right? Because like everybody liked Austin and The Rock, and I was like, it's like I don't want to like what everybody else likes. It's boring, So I gravitated towards this one guy. So basically from the moment that I was about 12, 13, I started taking the steps to make this a reality for me. So, like I joined gymnastics and all the kids made fun of me, because it's like, you're like prissy, like you're a twink, gymnast, whatever, I didn't care.
We tap danced.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. That is a skill. That is
Our
a
mother taught us
skill.
our mother taught us how to like
Ballroom dancing. Yep.
ballroom dancing.
Oh, that's
like,
amazing.
we get it.
That's
we get it.
The
Go
theme,
ahead.
from, the theme for my bar mitzvah was Broadway shows. So
Wow, really,
yeah. Oh,
really.
yeah.
That's kind of up my alley because, like, to
I'm a
kind of
mermaid.
transition.
I'm a mermaid. You know.
You're a mermaid. To transition, like I took a lot of theater, so now you have to imagine like the way that like high school kids look at a guy that's in gymnastics and theater, what the misconceptions are going to be, right? It wasn't 2020. It was like 06, 07. So the way that kids treated you was much different than society now. I'd assume. I don't know. But anyways, so graduate high school. By chance, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, who was a legend in the 80s, 90s, he had a wrestling school 20 minutes away from me. So basically, I walked into the school, and again, it was the bullying. They called me skinny fat. They said there's no way that we're going to train you. And it was just like, again, it's like, you know, Karate Kid, like like Rocky, you tap into all of these resources, and it's just like, I just kept coming back. I just kept coming back. You know, they'd hurt me, they'd beat me up, you come back. Hurt me, beat me up, come back. And it's just that relentless process. And then that same year, Superfly, like he goes up to WWE, like whenever they're in town, he'll go to the shows. He brought me. And Pat Patterson, first Intercontinental Champion, he's one of like the backstage guys. He took one look at me and said, that's the guy that we need for this thing that we're doing today. So literally, like, again, just like with LinkedIn, within the first year, I had this ridiculous amount of success. Like, it was within my first year of training for WWE. I was on television. They threw me on television and made me a part of the show. And this one still gives me goosebumps because, like, they didn't tell me what I was going to do. So my childhood hero, Chris Jericho, he had been basically retired. He retired in 05. And this is all on Google. You guys can search it. He had retired in 05. And the belief was he was never going to return again. He was done wrestling. He was going to be a musician, all these other things. And then he comes out of nowhere. I didn't even know he was going to be there. This is my childhood hero. Comes out of nowhere and shakes my hand and says, I guess we're working together tonight.
Oh, my God.
And it was just like,
the universe.
That's the universe, man.
Yeah,
That's the universe.
Yeah. And it's just like all of those feelings, all of those emotions, being a kid that was beat up, broken down, to now standing like right next to my hero, working with him. It's just like, there's a God, because there's a higher power out there, because there's no way statistically this could have happened. But yeah, that was my little WWE journey.
Did you wrestle on TV?
No. The story was I would always like run with a torch, but before I could make it, I'd get hurt. Like somebody would clothesline me, beat me up. And it's just like, it was basically like almost like the story of like my life. It's like you're just trying to reach that point, but something brings you down. Something's got you. So yeah, it was, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun with it.
But, you know, we talk about that all the time. Just, you know, we say, you know, the story of your life. We had a live show yesterday, and we were talking about how our lives is one big no.
Our lives are one big bag of no's. Everything about everything.
So true. So true.
You know, can you read my book? Can Hollywood buy? No. You want to read a screenplay I wrote?
Yeah.
No.
Will you like my post?
Will you like my post? No. Will you listen to our no. So it's, you know, our father, it started with our father. Our father was Mr. No. It was, you know, Dad, can I take the car out this weekend? No. Dad, you know, Dad, can we go out and hang out? No. Everything was no. And it was our responsibility to get to yes.
Right.
And with the bullying and with, you know, getting beaten down by people, life is all about setbacks. And to me, life is a movie. And if you know, if you were going to watch a movie in 90 minutes about a guy going through the entire movie and everything's just great and everything's amazing and everything's happening to him,
you would never invest.
You would never like be like, give me my money back. I'm never going to watch this movie again. You want to see people get beaten down. Like, I don't know if you're a Lord of the Rings guy, but I always liken it to Lord of the Rings, that like if Frodo just walked right to Mount Doom, threw the ring in and walked away, there'd be no movie. He lost a finger. He got his ass beaten. He was destroyed emotionally and mentally. That's all of us.
He was a changed man.
He was a changed man when that journey was over. So your journey brought you to LinkedIn. Do you feel that you're going to be, this is your final job, or you want to do something even bigger? You want to get back to WWE?
I think that's the perception. I do get that a lot. I get a lot of questions like, why aren't you doing YouTube? Why aren't you trying to do acting? Why aren't you trying to, like expand on this? But I think that, sometimes that can be the mistake that people make. It's like, you compromise the thing that brought you to the game, trying to reach for something else. And I feel like, at least for right now, at least for the next couple of years, I'm in a really comfortable position with what I'm doing right now. And I think that I need to embrace it, make the most of it. And what's really interesting is just like, by default, like when you build a huge presence on one social media platform, people start searching for you in other places, right? So
Yeah.
I've built my Instagram, my Facebook, even a YouTube page off the backs of my LinkedIn content, because people will just do Google searches. They'll see where else you are. Is there content that he's creating that I haven't seen before?
Right.
Because the belief is, well, he can't just be doing LinkedIn content. It's LinkedIn. He's probably doing better stuff somewhere else. It's not true. I'm not. But, the point being is that, yes, people will search for you in other places. But for right now, everything is going so great. I think that I have a responsibility to make the most of this right now. So that's it.
You had a video, and it's a brilliant video, and I agreed with every word that was scripted in this video. And it was this teacher talking to a student, and the teacher was talking about geometry and I think the Pythagorean theorem or whatever.
Right.
And I'm paraphrasing
the
here,
structure of a cell and just like all the silly things cursive. Why did
you sign your checks, right? You signed your. It was
but
brilliant.
why did they teach us cursive for? Like, have you?
And they said, well, to sign your checks, right? That was that's the teacher's response. Right. But like, did you write that? Because that was genius.
Yes. Yeah. No. I wrote it. There might have been like inspirations that I picked up from online, but like essentially the interaction. It was, and it's so funny because I was a terrible student. I was a horrible student, and it's kind of like it's ironic because like. It kind of like it completes the story, right? Like dad was so hard on me. Dad was so hard on me with my grades and stuff like that. That like really defined who I was as a kid. So what I'm finding through my LinkedIn content is people think it's like, oh, well, he's doing this for business opportunities or for more brand awareness. And it's like, no, my LinkedIn is a living journal. It's a living journal where I express my feelings, my experiences. And I think to a degree, that's why it works, why it resonates. Because all I'm talking about, it's just a blank canvas, and I'm just painting. And if people want to watch it, they want to watch me paint, they want to, go to my museum and check out my art, it's all there for you to see. But its intent is for me to express myself.
I was learning disabled in school. My daughter is learning disabled. The jury's still out on my son. Like, it's fine, but I was always told, and it was always a lingering thing that because I wasn't good in school, because I couldn't get my Regents diploma, or because I failed out of college, or because of those things, I wasn't necessarily going to be successful in my life. Right. And I knew that I would, but I never met. It was schooling is so important, right? Like everyone always focuses on college. You got to have a college degree. If you can't do school, I couldn't study. I couldn't do those types of things. And honestly, it wasn't until my 30s where I realized that you don't have to have a traditional education to be successful in this world.
Right.
And that goes into how maybe that's why I was always behind the scenes and I never had any social media. Maybe that's the reason why that I was always just kind of kept low key, because I was embarrassed. And really amazing that you put that out there. And honestly, Gary Vaynerchuk, he puts out a lot of that about how he wasn't great in school and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I really started listening to him where I realized, no, you don't have to do school to be successful in this world.
Jonathan, did you need an education to do what you're doing on LinkedIn? Did you feel that schooling, I kind of know the answer already, but like, did you feel
you kind of know the answer. Yeah.
Do you feel that your education like kind of propelled you to do this in other ways, that the bullying you beaten down to get to this level of being this LinkedIn celebrity?
It's tough because I think it does just by default. It creates more comfort with some of the clients we talk to, right? Because it's basically like, It's a sheet of paper that says this person has a degree of authority in a specific field, you know.
Sure.
But like, you know, nuts and bolts, would I say that my marketing degree has helped me with, you know, the advice that I give on LinkedIn? Absolutely not. No, it doesn't.
Absolutely.
You know, is it great that I learned some additional skills about finance and business? And
Sure.
yeah, I guess. But
Sure.
here's the thing: the time that we live in today, I could have probably learned all those things on YouTube a lot faster, more efficiently, and more modern than the textbook that was written 7 years ago for a world that's moving far too fast that can't keep up.
We're doing like, so this, I love this topic. They don't teach you about mortgages in high school. They don't teach you about taxes in high school. They don't teach you about landscaping in high school, sprinkler systems,
How to
like,
change a tire, like the most obscure things. Yeah.
right. But and our children are in that now, and I hope our kids are not going to be watching this, because like what they're learning is just, it's asinine. My son comes to me, why am I learning this division multiplication table? Why do I have to hand write it out? I learned more on YouTube in the last 5 years than I learned in my entire school career. I have a degree in English. I have a minor in education. I have a secondary degree in finance. I have an MBA. And the joke is that, what'd you do with your MBA? And I always say, I once ran out of toilet paper one day. And I had my MBA right there. And I wiped my ass with my MBA because it didn't do anything. I learned more sitting in my father's office. It's Tommy Boy. You ever see Tommy Boy?
Of course. Come on. Yes.
All right. So like
that is one of the
that's our movie.
That is one of the best coming of age movies ever created. And like when I watched that when I was a kid, you watched it for Fat Guy in a Little Coat, right? You watched it because Chris Farley was funny, but then all of a sudden you watch that when you're 29.
You go, oh
Yes.
my God.
And you're like, holy
he's on a hero's journey.
shit.
He's on a hero's journey. His father was our father. He could talk to people, and Eric and I are going, fat guy in a little coat, and he say, no, the head, you know, the butcher has his head up the cow's ass, and he just keeps botching that line. School doesn't prepare a guy like you, a guy like me, and a guy like my brother for the real world, and we had to learn it on our own. And it's street smarts. It's not book smarts anymore. Go on YouTube.
Also, I just want to say for the record that, like,
we're not anti-education.
We're not anti-education, because if you want to go be a lawyer, doctor,
you gotta go
accountant, yeah, you have to go and do those things. But man, if you're not getting into one of those type of fields, it may not be worth it.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, I get to see exactly the benefit of it, like where it works ideally. Like I look at somebody like my little brother, that he always got like really good grades. He got his, you know, accounting degree, went to go work for my father, like, you know, almost like Tommy Boy-esque, like the ideal, right? So goes to work for my dad, you know, like does the whole thing. It's like you definitely catch the sense that he doesn't have, like, his life isn't viewed fulfillingly. Like he, you know, there are other things that he wants to do with his life, but he's satisfied. And let me be honest, I am jealous of the people that can be satisfied with the way that things are, the status quo, the ones that, and we all know them. They live in like a decent sized house. They drive a decent enough car. Their life is decent enough wife, decent enough kids. Everything's decent. They spend the weekends, grab a couple drinks, watch a football game. Life's great. It's peachy. They're satisfied. But I don't know about you guys. I'm sure you can relate to this.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't fill me. It just doesn't feel like enough. I feel like there's a calling to do something more. So I do feel like in a traditional sense, the whole college route works great for the decents of the world. But for those that are searching for a little bit more, that self-discovery is self-taught. You have to go out there and find it. And a college degree will not help you get there.
I see. So you have LinkedIn Bootcamp, right? You and Shay have LinkedIn Bootcamp. Bootcamp is a scary word to me, but like LinkedIn University, like you're teaching people what no one could teach in high school.
Oh, I fought her on it. Trust me.
The bootcamp. Not there's anything wrong with the name bootcamp, but bootcamps. I mean, like I don't want to, like, you know, I think bootcamp is just like running through muck, right? Like,
yes,
you know. So
yes.
what is your bootcamp? What are you teaching people?
Right. So the first stage is obviously like profile optimization, right? You want your profile is like your billboard. It's your website. Like we live in 2020. How many people are actually like going, like actively searching for a website. It's not as much as prior, like when social media was not a factor, right? So now more people are on social media. The whole idea behind this is, how do we reduce friction, right? Like traditional marketing, you would watch commercial on television, you would have to pick up your phone, you'd have to dial the number, you'd have to talk to somebody, you'd have to book an appointment. That is a lot of friction. There are a lot of opportunities. If the dog distracts you, if the kid distracts you while you're watching the commercial, now all of a sudden you didn't make the connection, you didn't call, right? So what we're doing is we're trying to remove as much of the friction as possible. I mean, think about it. If you watch my content, you click my profile, you book an appointment. How easy is that? It's click, click, click. So that's really why the profile is so important, because it's like my website. I don't have an active website because I don't need it. My LinkedIn profile is my entire website. It talks about my services. It's one big ad of what I do. And then my content is all given. It's the funnel. It's just, how can I provide value? How can I show what I do? How can I show my expertise? But more than anything else, I want to show likability so that people want to work with me. I think that a lot of the mistakes that people make with their content is they focus just on the value, just on the information. But it's like, you want people to want to work with you. You want people to want to pick you, because then price is not a variable. If you're just giving the value, if you're just giving information, great, I could Google that. But what are the variables that I can't Google? Because those are going to make the decision whether I go with you or I go with somebody else, right? So I think that is a factor. So the first thing that we do is we teach people how to optimize their profiles, how to optimize that website that is their profile. The next step is writing scripts. If you guys think that I just go into these videos off the cuff and just start talking, it's not the reality. So there is a certain way of structuring a script for it to constantly keep your attention, because it's not like a commercial. With a commercial, remember like how we'd have to just like sit through them and like wait until it was over for the next thing to happen. When it comes to social media content, especially on LinkedIn, you got the power of the scroll. You can just keep moving your thumb and looking at the next thing. So what can I do to get people to stop and stare and stick around until the end? That's really where that script writing element is so important. And we can teach you how to do that. And then, the final variable is more related to, like how do anybody could have a big hit. Anybody can have that one video that goes viral. Yep. But how do you do that over and over and over and over again? Because it takes about 10 interactions. This is what they say. It takes about 10 interactions before a person finally decides to pick up the phone and call you, book an appointment. So, like those are all things, like a lot of people just think it's dropping a link and posting an article and people are going to come to you for business. There is so much psychology, sociology, community building, creativity, art behind creating these leads, creating these business opportunities. And really that's what we teach all of these executives to do, while at the same time bringing a lot of their own spirit and energy into the production.
That's what we did. When we started the podcast, we're like, like me, my brother, and my mother, like we sell the company, right? Like we'll go on business meetings and we'll take people out to dinner and we'll have 20 people from an office and we'll go take them out to the Palm. And we're doing our thing, and we're talking about diet, we're talking about exercise, we're talking about everything but business. And we're like, we can take a bunch of people out, we can take 20 people out to dinner, we can reach 20 people. And then we were like, but what happens if we create a show, we can reach 200 people or 2,000 people or 20,000 people.
Right.
And then it's the holistic picture of connecting with our target audience online for our business. Let's say that's, people in the travel industry, connect, just nonstop connecting to, 64 a day, however many LinkedIn is allowed, you just go and connect, then you create content. And then, you start posting and they see your face. And then all of a sudden when they show up when you show up at their office, they're like, I know you.
Exactly.
Oh wait, you posted content. And then it's bumping into them at the Starbucks when you're at that travel convention. And then they're like, oh, hey, what's going on? I watch your content all the time. And you say, oh yeah, this is so great. We gotta, let's go out to lunch sometime. And then it's all about the long game of where when you create content, you become you don't have, there's no introduction necessary.
Exactly.
You can just go directly in, and then you can just start talking about what makes you you. And then you say, oh, by the way, we own a global car service and you should totally use us. We'll take great care of you. Because the funny thing is, like, in our business, everybody has the same cars. Everybody has the same drivers. Everybody shows up on time, right? They're all new. The drivers are all trained properly. Everybody's got the same technology. So why use us?
Exactly.
And that's the same thing with what you're doing. Why use you? It's because it's you. Because
Exactly.
they're using you. And I think people have to understand that. And once you crack that code, you can kill it in the world, not just online.
That's
Yes.
Tommy Boy. It's people are buying you, not chicken wings.
I can shit in a box and market guaranteed. I
wouldn't recommend it, but you can try.
But
I want to say, Jonathan, you're using LinkedIn not only as a business tool but also as a personal tool. I was kind of shocked when I watched this video that you're putting yourself out there, even your stuff that's wrong with you physically, and I commend you big time for doing that. I understand you have an issue that you technically can't have children at this point in your life.
Right.
It's because you apparently do not have any sperm, correct? That's
correct.
Why would you put that out there? Like, what's your reasoning behind it? How did it make you feel? Please go into that.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack, but I'll try to keep it as quick as possible. So the first variable is I've been on LinkedIn for quite a while now, right? So there's a certain degree of comfort that I have in sharing information. But one thing that I recognized, and I got called out by Shay and some of the others in the company, and they were like, John, you never talk about yourself. You always talk about value, LinkedIn marketing advice, even some funny content, but you never talk about yourself. And as you start kind of looking introspectively at yourself, you start recognizing, well, that's an insecurity. I was under the belief that nobody would want to know anything about me specifically. People are here because of the value I bring, not the person behind the value, right? So I remember when I was going through this whole thing with, my infertility, there just wasn't a lot of resources online. Like, most of the belief is that this is kind of like a women's thing. I remember going to a couple of clinics, and the rule was I had to bring my partner with me. I had to bring my wife if I wanted to enter the infertility clinic. And I just felt like that was so wrong. I was like, right. Okay, at the time, me and my partner were on the skids. We weren't really, because I wanted her to make her own decision.
Right.
You never want to be in a position, if you can't have kids, that's not to say your partner has to stick around and so at the time we had created some distance, to be fair to her, but I still wanted to do my part to, fix my body or see if I had options. And these infertility clinics would not let me in. So, the more I researched, the more I realized there is not enough conversations online about men and their struggle, because this is not having to be able, if you look at me aesthetically, I'm a bigger guy and it's got all my hair and a beard, and you would assume, okay, this is a very healthy, normal man that has the capabilities of having children, only to find out I can't, right? So it's not that I was trying to be the poster child for the conversation, but there were so many resources that I wish I had. And I know that this is happening to men because statistics say that almost half of men will have some type of infertility struggle. Yet only 7% will actively have conversations with other men about it, because it is such an insecurity. So I basically said enough was enough. I created enough distance from myself and the emotional turmoil of the moment, so that if there was any negative repercussions or negative comments, it wouldn't impact me emotionally, right? So if you're considering being more vulnerable online, I would encourage you, create distance between you and the event, so that those negative comments, those negative thoughts that people share with you, because you will 100% get them, they don't impact you as much. They don't hurt you as much. You're stronger than it at this point. So yeah, I shared it, and it was the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. I can't tell you how many messages I received from men that had shared, some advice. I don't have the answer yet. Still searching for it, but I feel like I'm a little bit closer. And not only that, to know that I have all these resources and friends that actually care about me, and that it's not just my content, was really the lesson that I learned from that whole experience.
That's an unbelievable story. And like I said, I know we mentioned this before, and this could be for guys out there. Call Dr. Harry Fish, Fisch. He's in the city. It took
Manhattan.
in Manhattan. It took me 1 year for my wife and I to get pregnant. And it turned out I had an E. coli infection in my semen, and we couldn't get pregnant. And I went and I took a course of antibiotics, and I talked to Dr. Fish. He's a friend to you. And he said there was a guy who had what you had. I don't think he even had testicles. I think his testicles never descended or anything.
Wow.
And he's like, and I found that sperm. This guy, he's a Park Avenue doctor, amazing guy.
He's on Dr. Oz all the time.
He's on Dr. Oz. He wrote a book called we should get him
the male biological clock. Yeah, Mike, that's a great idea.
I'm gonna email him, the male biological clock. Please reach out to him. He could probably help you, I'm sure, via Zoom or whatever. And obviously, say Michael Okon recommended, he'll know exactly who it is. But you doing that, I applaud you for going on and being a man about it, because you're right. There's not a lot of content for guys like us out there. And we had Thomas DeLauer on, I would say about 2-3 weeks ago. Tom DeLauer has 2.5 million followers on YouTube. He is the definition
for keto,
poster child for keto, intermittent fasting. And he lost 100 pounds, and he puts himself out there of how his stretch marks are. And he said there's no content for guys.
No.
And what you're doing, and I got to tell you, this isn't even really a criticism, but the LinkedIn community is golden. They are the nicest people. I've been on LinkedIn now for about a year and a half, and really posting hardcore, and the response is just always so, you got this, dude. We can do this, yeah, let's do it, blah, blah, blah. If you posted that same video on Twitter,
oh my gosh, yeah,
they would tear you apart.
My gosh. Well, yeah, so you want attention. Yeah, I know. Oh my God, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not anti-Twitter. Twitter to me is like cotton candy. It's like, oh my God.
If you got thick skin, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, but the people on Twitter, I could post one simple thing of I'm not sending my kids to school, and I will get people on the left, people on the right saying, you're psychotic. Why? So it's like, your story, you're in a very good place on LinkedIn. If you have a thick skin and you want to put that on Twitter, YouTube also has some really crazy comments. There's people out there who they're not happy. And they're
I have a belief of why this is the case.
Please tell us.
Why is LinkedIn so utopia, so perfect, so great, so positive in comparison to all of the other social media other social media platforms? So first and foremost, there is no dislike button, right? So inherently, you can't just dislike it. Number two, there is no anonymous or usernames, right? When you don't have anonymous, you got to show your face. And when you don't have a username to hide behind, it's your actual name. But third, most of us, you have a direct line to our bosses, to the companies that we work for. So we have to be hypersensitive with what we endorse, what we put out there on LinkedIn, because it can, and I've seen it come back to people. So I do believe that all of those factors play into why it seems so positive there. Your reputation's on your line, your personal brand's on the line. There are so many your other employees are there. So people do play it very safe.
Are you a believer in the law of attraction?
Is the sky blue? Yes, of course. I feel like everything that's happened. Yeah.
Who have you studied, or who are there any books that you've read, or YouTubers or anything like that?
Not anybody specifically. I think that we've all watched The Secret, and we all have
plugging my book, Eric. Go ahead, keep talking.
We all have those resources that we go to towards manifesting, but I've never actually studied it.
I wrote this book. I self-published it. All right. I don't like to promote my stuff, but
He does it every episode.
But I do it every episode. But I kind of put the disclaimer in. I wrote this book called Just Ask the Universe. It's 100 pages, and it's 9 years on Amazon. 9 years on Amazon.
Wow.
And it's still in the top 100 most read books in spirituality.
No way.
I got this book is linked up with The Secret, and it's a small manual on how to get what you want. Right. Just straight up that we're a species of want. We need things. Right. We want things. And the way you tell your story, with the way you told your story about Chris Jericho, that this is your childhood hero.
There's no that's no accident.
That's not,
no,
that's
not at all.
You program your subconscious mind that you were going to meet Chris Jericho. It was going to happen. You were going to shake
without a question.
And it literally, like, it just breaks it down in there.
One of the other books, and we say this all the time, that's so easy to listen to and to read also, is called The Science of Getting Rich. Because it's not about being rich. It's about living a fulfilling and luxurious life the way that it's meant to, it's a way it's meant to be lived. That book there's life before reading just The Science of Getting Rich, and there's life after reading that.
Do you have any recommended reading? Do you have any books that have influenced you throughout the years?
Oh my gosh. My favorite is probably How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. I feel like very easy read. It's like, I think it was like published in the 20s or 30s. So it's a little, it's a little bit dated, but I believe that, like, in terms of like developing the framework for how to speak on camera, like, not necessarily difficult to speak on camera, but it is a little bit challenging to make it as though you're speaking to that one person specifically, so that they feel like the message is catered towards them specifically. I think that is an art form. So I felt like that book kind of helped me do that. And I use a lot of those different tools in all of my stuff, even today. So definitely recommend that one.
It's amazing.
Very cool.
That's amazing. Jonathan, where can people find you? How do you get 40,000 people on LinkedIn? Like, I'm like struggling to get to 10. Like, how,
it's like, it's approaching 50, to be fair. Well, like, let's call it 50.
I have 10,000. I have 10,000, and majority of that was me mining it.
Really? Yeah. Like, I think I got, in the very beginning, I know that I was doing a lot more of the reaching out, but I think that, a lot of it is a lot of it's affiliation, who you're associated with on LinkedIn. Like your big influence, your Gary Vaynerchuk's, your Tony Robbins, like, they don't have as much influence on LinkedIn because, like, this is a community where it's like a networking event. People want to feel like they can approach you, they can talk to you, they can reach out to you for a podcast. And, some of these individuals, they're kind of on a pedestal. They're hard to reach. So because of that, because they're kind of like above us, if you will, we can't have like a one-on-one conversation with them. So LinkedIn is not a very like influencer culture per se. When it comes to outside popularity, we're like a very close community when it comes to that. We empower people that are kind of at our level. They're on LinkedIn daily, interacting with us. So I do feel like that's been an element, but there also is a snowball effect. It's like anything else, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you notice that like the branches of the tree, the more people that you reach, the more people start interacting. So it was kind of like, the first like 5 months, I probably had about 10,000. And then 3 months after that, I had 25, 30,000. And now I'm approaching 50,000. So, it's just like, the snowball effect is definitely a thing. The more people you reach, the more start to come in.
Shay is like the queen on LinkedIn.
She's top dog.
How many followers does she have?
Oh, close to 500,000. Yeah.
That is awful.
And she went in 1 year from when I met her, she was at 160,000 around this time last year, 160. Now she's at almost 500,000. So yeah, there's that snowball at work.
She's a smart businesswoman, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
My final question for you is, what would have been your finishing move if you were to wrestle on air?
My finishing move.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I can tell you mine. I was a huge fan of the pile driver. And Eric and I used to wrestle when we were kids.
We still do.
I still
kick his ass.
That's not true. That's not true at all. No, but Eric and I used to do the pile driver on Eric, and I almost broke his neck like 3 times. But otherwise, like, that was
you got, the rule is you got to go to the knees. You never go to the butt.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that when I was
the knees.
I didn't know that when I was 6 years old. you know,
Right,
so
right.
I
Because
had no idea.
people get stingers. What happens is they're like unless you like, and that's the thing. That's a part of the art. Like you have to hug the guy really hard.
Yep.
But if you're not positioned perfectly when you like go to hug him, like yeah, your head will be kind of like on the outside. Boom, it'll bump off that mat. And like, despite what people think, yes, there is like foam padding, but right under that is wood. So you are like spiking wood. So
Right.
you gotta be
Well,
careful.
I got to hear your finishing move though. What's your? Finishing
I think it'd be the stunner. I think it's the stunner because like I love the moves that they can come out of nowhere. There's no setup, and you can literally nail it on anybody, right? Like you know,
What's the stunner? What's the stunner?
Like the Stone Cold Stunner. So basically, like you hook the guy's head, right? Like you hook his head, and then you just drop with him. So Stone Cold Steve Austin was famous for it because it's kind of like an out of nowhere move. Doesn't take a ton of technique. So you know, like if you're fighting a 7'2" Big Show. Like I can't choke slam Big Show, but I can nail him with a stunner. So yeah, I'd go with that.
Your bicep, dude, was like touching the top of the screen. It was like a Popeye bicep.
Maybe like the shirt's baggy. Like yeah, maybe the shirt's a little baggy.
You're fucking ripped, dude. Do you work out every day?
Like yeah, like all of this is by design. Like I kept my hair long because I know that's like WWE's thing. I'm still I'm in great shape because if WWE does call one of these days, I want to make sure I'm ready. Like I'm camera ready tomorrow if they need to call.
Have
you maintain that.
Have you dressed up on LinkedIn as a wrestler yet?
Never. But don't be surprised. You guys are hearing it first here. Like that is a long-term plan because I think that it's important to the story, like I shared with you guys. But it's about it's a process. It's a process of okay, you know, like now I'm ready to touch on this point or that point.
Right.
So yeah. We'll get there though. We'll get there first.
Jonathan, where can people find you? Please plug whatever you got.
LinkedIn, baby.
Just LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Jonathan That's it. Yeah. Like that's going to be my home for a long time. And so if you do want to find somewhere that I'm actually active, that you can actually find me, my recommendation is go to LinkedIn, type in Jonathan Palmer. They'll have the details, I'm sure. And yeah, just ask me a question. I live there.
Just for everyone's frame of reference, I messaged Jonathan and I'm like, hey, we've had this person, and this person on our podcast. We'd love for you to come on. And he's like, let's do it. I'm like, So you never know the power. You never know the power of a cold email or a cold message or a cold DM. It works.
Did you have fun? You had fun on Okon Bros?
Oh my God. I had so much fun. I felt like, I just felt like the conversation, the way that you guys structured it, the fact that you're both like on both sides of me, I kind of like feel pressure to really like deliver.
We're tag teaming.
Yeah, exactly.
We're tag teaming. No, go get him, Eric. Go get him. Eric comes in with a hook line.
There you go. I love it.
Well,
I love it.
Thank you for
Jonathan,
coming on,
coming on, man.
And we're gonna sign off right now. Hang out for 1 second. All right?
Everyone, like, subscribe, share, smash the notification button.
Smash it.
Follow Jonathan on LinkedIn. This man knows exactly what he's talking about. He'll make you successful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.